Our next speaker is Senior Geoscientist Rohrer, who manages our industry-ready graduate program. Riley's been instrumental in driving this initiative, which bridges the gap between university and industry by equipping emerging geoscientists with the skills and confidence to thrive in WA's resources sector. Please join me in welcoming Riley to present her keynote, the inaugural industry-ready graduate cohort's one-year deep dive at GSWA.
Hi everyone. Kind of feel really cool being a keynote and only being at this survey for a year, so very excited to be here. And I get to brag about my job, and I think I have one of the best jobs in the survey. Just a quick acknowledgement to country as well. We were out in the Rohrer terrain with two of the traditional owners, Lyle and Terrell, and I think they really made that trip all the more special by showing us their culture and being part of our team there. So just a personal shout out to that. But you might be wondering, what is the Industry Ready Graduate Program? Logistically, it's a 2-year program that will support the penultimate year of a university learning journey of your either master's or your honors degree, followed by on-the-job training here at the Geological Survey. So the first year, we're able to provide financial support, expenditure cost, and cover tuition. So it really takes a lot of that kind of stress of some university parts off of those students. The second year, they get to come join me, and I get to organize a bunch of different rotations for them where they go and get a tour of our department, but not just a tour, they're actively contributing to the research and to the work in our larger goals of the survey while they're with us. The overall goal of this program is to produce graduates that are confident and ready to meet the demands of industry after they complete our program. But more into that, just the mission of the Industry Ready Graduate Program is to develop the skills of our graduates to meet and exceed the industry demands by filling the gap between their academic training and their industry training. Because there are graduate programs provided in industry, but there's some skills that we want to encourage and hopefully bring to industry by having a program like this. We also provide diverse hands-on training for graduates by integrating them into our ongoing projects, field mapping, and advanced data integration programs. And I just want to give a quick shout out to my graduates I currently have. We have Max, we also have Matt, and Alan. Yep, so I really encourage you, I'll talk more about the projects they've been working on throughout the program, but during the breaks I really encourage you to hear more from them because they really are doing amazing research work as part of these rotations. So you might be wondering, again, why do we need a program like this? We want to create highly skilled graduates and spread awareness of our resources and data sets within industry, so showing the fruits of our labor to these students and having them be the best advocates while they're in industry. It's a unique opportunity to learn practical uses of advanced research. So again, we can learn about geochemistry in one of our undergrad courses, but to actually go through a geochemical data set using Aya gas is a completely different thing. So really bridging the gap in those kind of practical uses of the skills we learn in industry, or learn in academia. We also are hoping to encourage higher education by supporting honors and master's students, as well as bringing networking into the play for them and teaching those skills. This program is aimed at developing a sound understanding, knowledge, and experience of skills and operations of our division. So really, again, trying to sell our researchers and our projects and our programs by teaching more undergrads, more honors students, and more master's students how to do these programs and skills. And this also helps increase our relevance within industry. So I like to think of us as a little bit of that missing puzzle piece and kind of a nice transition between academic training and your industry training. We want to show you the more advanced uses of some of those skills. There's also a huge demand coming for geosciences. There's recently an Australian Academy Science article that highlighted this demand as one of the top 8 sciences that's missing skills. So we're not having as good of skilled workers and capable workers in the geoscience community, despite having a huge push and rush for critical minerals. And behind critical minerals, again, shocked face, we just don't have the geoscientists to support that demand. So programs like this are necessary from that perspective. And when we're talking about those gaps and those lack of capabilities or gaps in capability, they also highlighted it in this really great chart that shows different sciences on the top border comparing agriculture, artificial intelligence, so on, to geoscience and basic areas where a lot of sciences can experience growth or gaps throughout the years. This includes year 12 enrollments, VET enrollments, university graduates, postgraduates, and current workforce and predicted workforce capabilities. And as you can see, geoscience is decreasing in all of these trends, indicated by the red and orange arrows. So despite having this big rush and this big push for critical minerals, we're just not having the correct skills and and research to support that. And that's where we hope this industry-ready graduate program can fill some of that gap. Despite being in our first year, we're hoping that the results and the proof is in the pudding with our amazing graduates, that we're learning and we're teaching them skills that are relevant to industry and will help them and the industry blossom. There's also a growing demand from students themselves, and I think this speaks a lot. Even though we're seeing decreases of enrollments, we've actually seen increases of interest. So there are students who want programs like this to help them meet the demands of industry and feel confident in the skills they do have. Last year we had about 30 applications. This year we had over 70. So we are seeing a huge increase in applications for this program, and that's largely due, I think, to seeing the early success of our graduates currently in it. So we hope to increase the graduate roles eventually to match this demand, but for now we'll get more into the program. So how we organize this program is through a couple rotations, typically being 3 to 4 months long, or some smaller rotations in there if we want just kind of nice tours of certain departments. We decided to group it between core rotations, you can see on the left, and elective rotations on the right. Core rotations are things we want all of our graduates to be exposed to, and we think are our biggest selling points and assets, not only to the survey, but that they can bring into industry themselves by having a working and practical knowledge of each of these programs. So one being data management, working with Tasman's team, as well as WAMEX. We have core analysis, even doing I organized a structural workshop to teach them how to take structural measurements from drill core. That's something that they don't really teach in school, which is surprising because most of our rocks are coming from drill core. So we're making sure we're filling the gaps in those ways as well, including things like field geology. So we all went on a month, we think it was 3 weeks. We went to the Rohrer train with our amazing geoscience team, with our mapping team, and really got that hands-on field experience that I think our survey does better than anyone else. And I was on the trip and done other places in fieldworks, and it was probably my favorite field trip I've ever been on. And the last thing we want to expose them to is exploration and mineral systems, and my example for this is prospectivity mapping. We did a workshop with one of Nathan Bowman with the mineral systems team, and he showed us how he creates the prospectivity maps. So we know what's going into those and how to properly interpret them. Because it's all great if you see it, but if you don't know what's going on in those images, it's pretty confusing to understand what you can actually get out of it. And then elective rotations, these are things that the graduates tell me they're interested in, and that we can fit them into these different teams to really customize their growth within the program. So things like working with WA Array, analytical geoscience and geochronology, abandoned mines, energy geoscience, and land use. So while we have some structure to it, we also want to allow the graduates freedom to explore and expand their network within the survey and to the skills they want to bring into industry themselves. So going into a bit more of their individual unique experiences, I'm just going to go through some of the rotations that each of the graduates went through. So starting with Alan, his first rotation was with the high logger operation and data analysis team. So he was able to operate, load, and do data analysis and the data configuration. So he went through all the steps of a high logger and was even able to help figure out some of the anomalies happening with sedimentary core. So he really got a full process there and is a report contributor. So these aren't just rotations that are busy work that we want done. It's not just uploading documents. We're putting them to work, pushing their minds, and growing their skills at the same time. Alan's next rotation was with the natural hydrogen storage team, working with salt diaphirs. So I think he figured out 6 different salt fascies, which I had no idea was a thing. And he figured out the 6 different salt fascies with some of the core from the salt diaphir. And he, again, is contributing to a report there, so he'll have some authorships to take with him as he goes into industry. And finally, he's working with the geoscience data integration team currently, working with the high logger data sets again, because he has that great working knowledge that was kind of hard to get in the first place. So we're using the knowledge he gained from this program to now use with the data integration team to kind of make the data sets from high logger more consistent with our internal vocabularies. So really cool work. And each of the grads kind of had a fun little side journey, and Alan's was going to work on a night rig with Leon, and he was doing some hydrogen gas sampling from the drill core. But again, he would be more than happy to tell you more about any of these projects. I'm just his biggest advocate, as I am for all the graduates. So again, I encourage you to talk to them during the breaks about the program. Next, we have Max. Max's first rotation was with the geologic storage and geothermal systems team. He looked at over 64 well logs and identified ones that had water that you could measure in them to see if there was connectivity of the aquifers in the area he was working. So that was a lot of data reduction, and he learned about stiff diagrams and all these great things and got so much out of it, and is a report contributor on that program as well. His next rotation was with the Critical Mineral Systems and Geoscience Data Integration team. So this was a really great internal collaboration between those two teams to see if we can get some interesting work done there. So he looked at geochemical data sets to replicate Hugh Smithy's work with the barcoding and clustering. And then from his work using IAGAS, he tried to replicate those clusters using machine learning. And spoiler alert, we can't do what Hugh Smithy's does still, but machine learning will get there, hopefully. And finally, his rotation currently is with WA Array, where he just got to go on a helicopter trip over Shark Bay. So that's really cool. He's also doing like the forward and inverse modeling of some of those seismic lines and interpretations, but he's actually going out and actively doing field work, checking and monitoring these systems. And again, he's in a helicopter over Shark Bay for work. That's really cool. I say that because I was at my desk and he was there. It's fine. Last, we have Matt. So Matt started with the Geoscience Data Integration team. He had a really fun deep dive into 3D models. So looking at drone images plus other types of 3D models, they all have different file types and extensions, and he had the fun job of learning all of that and making and developing a code in Python to help make that a more searchable entity. So working with Tasman's team again. And now the code he wrote is actively being used and implemented with that team. So making things more accessible, hopefully eventually to the public, but internally where we have to start with that. Next, he went into the critical minerals team, and he did a huge literature review of volcanic massive sulfides within Western Australia, leading to a decision tree that kind of highlights this, sources and key components to volcanic massive sulfides within WA. So that will be used by that team and hopefully be a report eventually that he'll get credit on. Last, he's with the geochronology team, so he actually got to go into the field with Hugh Smithies, collect some samples, and see the whole mineral process through, from getting your sample to making a really fancy sand that's concentrated of zircons, and then he's done the shrimp work to date those zircons as well. So these are really amazing projects each of our graduates gets to do. And not only that, we also get to organize workshops for them, so additional training on top of it we find important for them to learn and take away from our program, whether it be with technology courses like that structural geology workshop I mentioned, or ArcGIS, to networking opportunities. So organizing things that help them grow confidence to explain all these amazing skills and how they are relevant to industry, whether that be working on large data sets or just learning how the state maps are developed by going with the mapping team. All these are critical skills we think that industry can benefit from by working with these graduates and by having graduates train. A few other quick highlights of our year is that we got to go to visit the Kalgoorlie team. We saw the core library there and did workshops that were with CSIRO, as well as going to an active drill site and getting a tour of the super pit, because you can't go to Cal without seeing the super pit. It's kind of what's the whole point. We also did a networking and interview workshop, so they should be primed and ready to talk to you all today. We also got to go to Canberra to the Science Meets Parliament conference and annual meeting there, where they got to meet politicians and see science from that perspective as well. They did the Loop 3D modeling workshop, as well as 3 weeks of fieldwork in the Naryir Train, which was a personal highlight because I got to go with them on that one. So yeah, we're really just working on growing this program. This has only been our first year, and I'm very serious about this. That's why I made them look serious with me, but we're just getting started here. There's so much we can do, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what the graduates do in industry. I'm looking forward personally for this program. I hope to collaborate with universities. I hope to collaborate with industry and CSIRO to really push the skills of the graduates and give them as much information as possible before going into industry. I also really would love to hear from our industry partners here today what you think a program like this can be, should be, and needs to do. What skills are you missing in your current graduates that you think programs like this might be able to help fill the gaps of? So I'd love to talk to anyone today about what you would like to see from programs like this and graduates coming out of this program and in general. Eventually, we'll create that nice alumni network of graduates and track their success. But overall, we hoped that we can provide meaningful projects that align with GSWA initiatives and industry initiatives as well, and encouraging more students to enroll in geology by doing doing as many outreach opportunities as we can with the graduates, because I think, again, they are the ones who make this program work. I just get to talk about how great they are. And with that, yeah, come find me for questions or comments on the program later. I'd love to talk about it. Thank you.